Ishwaram, as resplendent sun. It's the start of a bright new day. Time to rise, time to shine, Lord divine. Time to lead us along life's way. Awake, Lord of Buddha party. Awake, O Lord, over all mankind. Awake, O Lord of compassion, that the world good fortune may find.
I didn't know that I would be up here again, but here I am. And Baba has said many times that gratitude should be the life breath of man, that without it we cannot even get divine vision. He's also said that human life is very noble, very sacred, and very precious. At this moment, my heart is spilling over with so much gratitude that I almost feel like crying. Thank you, Baba, for loving us and for teaching us how to love one another. And I'm so grateful for this wonderful conference. There's so much love in action right here, where those of us who are guests are enjoying it. Those of you who are the hosts are offering it, and it's beautiful. So many people. The Naidus are so gracious, so hospitable. They're getting up at 3 in the morning to come down here to start preparing. We have our wonderful limousine driver who's been taking us to and fro a million times. It's been marvelous. Everything, the stage, the singing, the food, the children are lovely. Everyone, and there's so much love in this room that it's almost palpable. And so much attention to little details, you know, the way Baba does. When you're there, you see how meticulous he is. If he's orchestrating an event, he does it so carefully, every detail he attends to. We knew a woman who, Mrs. Rattenlaw, who used to cook for Baba many years ago and still does occasionally. And she said so many times Baba would come into the kitchen and tell her, now, not too much of that spice, a little more of this, how about mixing these? And he would offer her recipes and show her how to cook. And she was, of course, very thrilled to be learning how to cook from Baba. And we also know a family for whom Baba performed a marriage ceremony, and in fact offered his home in Brindavan for the celebration. And they said, we saw films, and we saw Baba walked up and down the rows, making sure every plate was placed carefully, that all the food was presented beautifully, properly, that everyone was attired well, the students looked beautiful, and everyone who was involved. This attention to detail, you know, and I experienced it at this conference, and I'm so grateful. Thank you so much, all of you who were involved. And I want to also thank those of you who have come up to me over the last day, sharing some of your heart-breaking and heartwarming stories of Baba's presence in your life. If you were to listen to one another, you'd be thrilled to see how many times Baba has come into our lives at a crucial moment when we're absolutely down, when the wife is having a breech baby and there's no doctor, and somehow the vibhuti is given and the baby comes out perfectly. A child is in the hospital, prayer to Baba, and the child is cured completely. So many interventions, so many times when we call on Baba and he's there. He just says, take my hand, you know, think of me, ask me. And it's beautiful. Once Sam and I were with Baba, and we were very concerned about the schools we didn't know, you know what the schools are like, you know what the environment is like, drinking, drugs, promiscuity. We were so concerned about our precious daughters. What should we do? Baba, should we send them to a private school? He said, no, they're all the same. Now, of course, this is all only for our family. Every family has to make their own decision, you know, and we happen to have a fairly good school academically. Maybe in some communities it's better to send them to a private school, but this was, you know, when people tell you these things, you have to filter it through your own experience. But anyways, he said, you have to speak to them. You don't know what's on your mind. You have to talk with them. You know, in other words, communicate with them. And then the thought came to me, my goodness, without you, Baba. And he said, yes, without me, all would be lost. And Sam and I were actually shuddering when he said that. It was with so much force and seriousness. And we felt without him in my life, without him as the center of our household, how could we bring our children up? You know what kids are exposed to in the schools. You know the movies that they're seeing, the movies that are on television, the cartoons, even the commercials. You know, you can't escape it. It's everywhere. So how do we help our children maintain a certain purity and yet help them to be out there in the world? They have to live out in the world. It's when you go to Baba's school and you see the students, they're so sweet. They're so disciplined. They love Baba so much. And I talked to a young girl from England who had just started going to Baba's school, and she said, it was hard at first, but you know, we love him so much. I love him that I just want to make him happy, and I want his love. And that's the motivation. They just love, and of course that's a very protected environment. But the girls are not always having as close access to Baba as the boys. But yet that's the desire is to please and to receive the love from him. And now if we could cultivate that in our families, if we could somehow give the love and respect to our children so that when it comes to making these decisions, yes, no, discrimination, should I go out drinking with the kids? Well, maybe I can go out and I can drink a Coke. Maybe I can be the designated driver. You know, you try to help your kids figure out a strategy so that maybe you direct them into sports, you direct them into activities, you talk. What is the problem with early sex? Oh, you know, the kids are living together now when they're 18, 19, 20. Well, what's wrong with it? We have to talk. That's what Baba was saying. We have to communicate with them, and that's really all we could do with our kids. Just speak to them, and then release them and trust that they would make the right decisions, letting them know how important it was to try to be pure. Well, once I came to Baba and I said, Baba, what about a summer school? Because the thought came to me, if we had organized a summer school in the States, maybe he would come. That would be the little, you know, maybe he couldn't deny the children, you know, because he loves the students so much. Baba, what if we had a summer school? Innocently asking. Of course, my ulterior motive was, Baba, will you come? And he said, no. It said, it's too difficult. They wouldn't like it. He said, you know, it's even too difficult here in India. And I was almost in tears, but Baba, we need you. He said, yes, when the time is right. So how difficult, the discipline, the rules, you know, to live a straight life is very challenging. Our kids have to deal with employment, what occupation, look at the job market. There's so many pressures on them, and we want to try to help them be strong and feel that they're lions, that they're really courageous and they can face anything that happens. I would like to tell a little about our last trip in January with our kids. As I've said, our children have grown up loving Baba. They've grown up with him in a kind of a different household with pictures and devotion. And they've had to be out there in the world too, so it was always a balancing act. They became vegetarians rather quickly because Sam came back, I'm not eating meat. I was hurt, angry, offended, and within 1 month, I said, oh my God, I'm eating an animal. I'd never thought of it before. It was just a big dawning in my brain. And that was, I think lobster tails were the last thing to go, because I really loved them. And I just had to part with them because I said, this was a wriggling live lobster, you know, and look what they do with it. it cries when it goes into that pot of water. And so that was it. But I never told the kids, you have to be vegetarians, because I felt I can't set those rules and regulations for them. I'm not strong in my own belief. So I said, okay, kids, I love animals. I can't, I have to respect and love it. But let's go out and eat. Anytime you want to go out, I won't have it in the house. And we did that for a while. And they could go out with their friends, and their grandmother thought they were starving, so she always took them out very often for hamburgers and chicken. And then after a while, within about a year, the twins, who were so young, said, we love animals. We don't want to eat them, and that we're not going to eat them anymore. And that was it. And the younger ones had no choice. They just went along for the ride. And everyone became so committed. But I never wanted to force them. And I never forced them, let's go to Bajan's, kids. Come on, we're having it here. Let's go. You got to read. You got to study. Of course, we had no Balvikas at that time. But we never wanted to force. We wanted to just offer it and have them look at our lives and just see whether it was good, whether it was doing something in our relationship, in our family. Well, anyways, and it was working. The kids were developing their own relationship. But after a while, they kept on saying, does Baba love us? I don't know if he loves us. Who am I? Who is he? What is God? What is life? Kids go through that. They have to question. I think he says, bring me your questions. And I think all young youth and young adults will eventually go through that process when they're being challenged by their friends. What are you believing in? Who is this guy? And they can't rely on their parents and the books. They have to come up to it. So that was the frame of mind. We had gone to India a few times, and Baba kept on reassuring them, I love you, you're sweet, you're good. What are you studying? Well, they would say, Baba, what should we study? What should I do? And he'd say, well, what do you like? Well, I like this, I like that. Well, why not this then? He would never do this, do that. He was always asking them to come up with it. And in fact, once our daughter was desperate. Baba, what can I do? She took hold of his sleeve practically. I can't decide what to do. He said, well, what do you like? What are you studying? Well, biology. Well, if you like it, I will help. He wasn't going to say, okay, do. Once in a while he has done that. But usually he allows us to discriminate, to make the decision ourselves. At any rate, in January, Sam and I decided to go, just like that. We had our family. My family was visiting from back east. Our house was filled with company. It was the holidays, the Jewish holidays, the Christian holiday, Christmas, everything was going on, and we said, let's go. And so we arranged it very quickly, and the kids said, can we go? And would you know, we got the tickets. They had a space between the school and the break in the job and whatever it was that we were doing. And so off we went with great excitement and expectation, because it's so much fun to look forward to a trip to India, to see Baba, to be in his presence. It's always unknown. You never can guess what'll happen. It's always what you least expect, and it's always perfect. So off we went, and it was thrilling. We came at the time of the sports day. I don't know how many of you have any of you seen the sports day event? A few of you. It's great. The students work hard for this event, which takes place over a period of 2 or 3 days, and they do sports activities, they have competitions with sports, they put on pageants, they do wonderful feats of endurance, swinging from ropes and jumping and diving through fire. 2 years ago, the college girls, now see, Baba provides to us what we need. Some of the college girls obviously liked adventure, excitement, and so they were riding motorcycles. And not only were they riding motorcycles around the stadium, but they had people balancing on them. And then on their shoulder would be one girl, and then on that shoulder would be one girl like this and one like that, one out the back doing a, kind of yoga. And there would have to be 7 girls on one motorcycle balancing. Can you imagine? These little, young, delicate, feminine young women riding these motorcycles, looking so strong. It was so exciting and thrilling, and there were a number of them, maybe 20 or more of the girls driving the motorcycles, and that was part of the presentation. And in fact, I think they outdid the boys that year. The boys did some things too, but they're just guys. But so I wanted the girls to see this and to see how Baba encourages the development, the total development. The kids, of course, the spiritual is very important. They put on a beautiful pageant, the religions of the world presentation, the young children dancing, and they all marched in formation, and the boys did their other things too. But it was very beautiful to see that Baba encourages the development of the physical, the body, to build strength, and as well as the mind and the spirit. So we came to this event, and it was as thrilling. The stadium is filled with so much color and life, and Sam was so lucky he got to sit up on the stage in back of Baba. And Baba sat up there and watched the students, and I think this is Sam said, or someone said, that Baba would point out so many information about the students. He knew them. Well, this one is this, and that one is that family, and this boy does this. And he just knew. He was talking to the people on the stage while the event was going on. And this time, the girls, now these girls, not just the girls, but the boys too, were doing karate. And they came out, lining up in formation. They threw away the motorcycles this year, and the boards came out. Pow, pow. One board after another, and these little delicate girls were showing their strength. You know, they were grounded, and they were showing their concentration, which is a very important lesson to learn, and many other skills that they had to learn. So this was very thrilling, you know, to this whole event. But then the girls started pining for Baba. Are we going to see Baba? Is he going to see us? So we sat apart from them, and they were able to experience this international family. For the first time, they met so many youth, so many young adults, young women from around the world, from Croatia, from South America, from Japan, from Canada, from everywhere. They were able to share experiences and see that they were not alone, that this was a truly international family. And all of these young people had stories to tell. The same kinds of stories that you were sharing with me. If those of you who are new, who are just coming here for the first time, trust that Baba will actually come into your life in such a potent way that beyond what you can imagine, if you just speak to him and pray to him and talk to him, he will be there. Even if you want to pass your exam, you can pray to him, give me the strength, help me. My daughters say they always ask for his strength, you know, and his help when they're passing their tests. So for anything, he says, but anyways, that was what they experienced. But they still wanted to have this moment with Baba. Would he see us? Wouldn't he see us? So the countdown started. You know the countdown? The days were passing, and he said, someone said, Baba's going to see you next day. So we got very dressed up, very beautiful in our saris, and of course, the day passed. That was it. So we had to wait again. The day before the last day, he called us in. And we went in with some young, I think, students and teachers. And first thing he did, he often materializes vibhuti and gives it usually to the ladies, for some reason. And then he waved his hand, and his hand was filled with a clutter of earrings. And it was earrings for the 4 daughters, and they had to kind of separate them. And there were duplicate earrings for the twins, and the same earring but different colors for the other 2 girls. I mean, he just went like this, and there it was in his palm. And then he started talking in Telugu to the students. And it was fascinating just to watch him, because he was so animated and so sweet, and he was giving them a spiritual discourse. And every once in a while we'd hear a word about discrimination. You have to ask to in good, out with the bad. You have to always say, is it good, is it bad, is it good, is it bad? And then we heard occasionally, do good, be good, see good. Once in a while the English would come out, and of course we've heard it many times, but it's so beautiful. And he says it so sweetly, with so much authority, telling us how to be. And then he called us in for the private interview. And he patted Sam and he said, good boy. And then he said, all are my children. He's so sweet, playful. And then Sam said, well, Baba, can I ask you a few questions? He said, oh, no, not now. This is family time. Family time, imagine. Sam had some important questions to ask him. Family time. He said they've come from so far away, and they think Baba's not going to see them. And so how sweet that is to put that much love into the family. He's really doing it for all of our families. He's right there saying, I want to give you the power and the energy in your families. Then, let's see how it went. Now, once in a while, Sam gets the idea that he'd like to sell the house, simplify our lives. You know, Baba's always teasing, 4 daughters, many expenses, and it's true. We have graduate school, we have marriages to look forward to. He says, why don't we just sell the house, simplify our lives, you know, I can write my next book. And I shouldn't say that, but Baba did say write a book. But so the girls and I shudder when he says that. You know, we don't like to hear that. So I just thought I'd throw it out, see what Baba would say. I said, Baba, should we sell the house? Sell the house? Hi. No, sell the house. At this point, our youngest daughter had been trying to learn some Telugu, and so she thought she knew a word, manchidi. She thought that meant thank you. So she said, manchidi, Baba, manchidi. Well, it doesn't mean thank you, it means very good. So Baba said, manchidi, no, sell the house. And then he looked over and he said, who is your Telugu teacher? And he was just so cute and funny, you know, playful, teasing her. What are you talking about? Then, we love our dog. Many of you love your dogs, or cats. We love Woolly Bear. He is Sam's son. He's a 100-pound Chesapeake Bay Retriever. He's beautiful. Of course, Sam named him Woolly Bear, so how tough and strong can he be with that name? Sam thinks we've emasculated him with all the women petting him, but he's lovely, and he barks and guards our house, but on Thursday night, he knows he shouldn't bark. Only once in a while, but he knows when people start coming for the meetings, he sits and he watches the door, but he doesn't bark. And he's just learned. He's wonderful. He gives devotion and love, and we just adore him. Of course, you know what it's like when you love your animals. So Judy, our youngest, showed a picture, a silly little picture of Baba with a Woolly Bear with a blanket over him, his head, and looking. And Baba looked at it. And you know, when Baba looks at something, he does it with such intensity, like he's really looking. I think Sam once brought a scrapbook from our center, you know, with pictures of service projects, and Sam said that he looked at each page and looked at the faces. He didn't just do it in a cursory way, he just studies it. Anyways, he looked at Woolly Bear, looked at it, and he said, special dog. Very special dog. Good dog. And then he said he has a deep bark. Not a mean bark, a deep bark. And then Baba puffed up his cheeks and he went, woof, woof. And he whooped just like Woolly Bear. And this shows you the joyful, playful nature of Sai Baba. You know, he's always saying, be happy. Be happy. And it's really hard to be happy when you've lost your job and you're struggling and you've lost your mother or father, you know, and it's very hard to be happy, but he's always saying, lighten up, be joyful. And he's very playful and joyful, and he shows that side of him when we're with the kids. Then the kids, one of our daughters, Baba has always been saying, husbands, husbands. You know, where are the husbands? He said this time, where are the husbands? And I said, yes, Baba, where are they? Oh, he said, well, they're not going to come from the sky. In other words, not just going to fall out of thin air, you know, maybe something you have to get out there, you have to start thinking husbands. So anyways, playfully. Then the girls, then I asked him a question. I've always asked him, I started saying this yesterday, you know, once I asked him years ago, Baba, can we do more? And it just pops out of me, because when you're with him, when you're in that environment, or even here, you feel so much love and you just want to express it. I said, Baba, can I do more? He said, yes, I will give you the power, the strength, the blessings. And this is what he gives. If we ask him, can we do more? He will give it to us. He will give us so much power and blessing. And then again, another time I asked, Baba, can we do more? He said, yes, when the children are grown, I will give you good work. Well, my mind went to work. Ha ha, good work. What is that is? And you know how grandiose we can get? We start thinking big projects. He's got something good, special. And my mind was just going with all these ideas. What could I do? What could be my work? Then this last trip I said, again, it comes out. I don't really plan this question. It just slips out. Papa, can I do more? He said, for you now, the home and the family. The home and the family. That's what I'm always doing, Papa, you know. Then he said, but all work is good work when you dedicate it to God. It means, you know, we don't have to go searching for these major projects. We have to do good work within our family. We have to do good work within our center. We have to service one another's, don't we? One another. We just have to be loving to one another. We don't have to have these great schemes. It's just it's a ripple effect, that it ripples out when we start having this service to one another. And the family is really the center. And being the mother is a precious gift. I think he has said, divinity and humanity is the motherly feeling. I mean, so that's the motherly feeling that we all have the capacity for, even men, you know. It doesn't exclude men. At any rate, Baba was very sweet. He was very loving. He was very reassuring to the girls. He gave them that sense that he's truly with them. He's truly with all of us. He was loving, he was kind, he was supporting, he was encouraging, he was giving them the pep talk and saying, you can do it, you can do whatever you need to do, whatever you want to do in life, if it's pure, if your motive is pure. And so he gave them the courage to go on, and we left that trip feeling so empowered by his blessing. And the last day was very potent. It was, I think, a New Year's festival. And the banners were colorful in front of the mandir, and everyone was in a festive mood, and there had been after sports day. And it was such a feeling of this celebration and this love that all of us, the devotees, and there were thousands of us sitting, we were crowded in there, and the students were there after the sports day. The little kids, they are so disciplined. They wear their little orange sweaters and the white, and then the girls are wearing their white saris, and they sit, the little 6-year-olds bring in the 5-year-olds, and the 8-year-olds bring in the 7-year-olds holding their hands, and they sit, and it's very hard to sit, but they sit with such discipline, and it was such a feeling of love. And Baba came in, and that was when he came in a like a yellowish golden saffron robe. It was unusual, radiant color, and he was the Lord. He was so powerful and so beautiful and emanating this love, and we were giving it back to him, and it was just like, I can't even describe that feeling of being immersed in this feeling of love. And he sat up on in the front of the mandir, and the students sang to him, "Why fear when I am here?" You know, they were singing a lot of English. The boys have learned a lot of English songs, and it stirred the heart. I hope that all of us can experience that joy, that excitement by going there. But if not going there, you can certainly experience his love in your heart. I'd like to just end with one very brief quote that I really love, because it tells us all. He says, "I am always with you, even if you do not believe in me, even if you forget me or laugh at me or hate me, even if I may seem to be at the other side of the earth. I am in you, you are in me. Do not forget that. We cannot be separated." That's beautiful. Thank you very much.
Dear Swami, who's omnipresent, I offer this talk to you, and I pray that you come through the words and bring love to all of us, and brothers and sisters, Sai Ram. And it was such a pleasure to see Sharon give a nice talk about Swami. She's always such a good speaker, and it's wonderful to have a wife to do that, you know. So nice. Thank you, Sharon. Sharon voiced her appreciation for this event. And she said that Swami says that, Gratitude is at the basis of being human. And one should genuinely be grateful for such a beautiful event. It doesn't just happen, like Swami says, it doesn't fall from the sky. People actually have to prepare for it. And when an event like this happens, all kinds of personalities have to get together and overcome differences in ego and mind, and they have to find some kind of way of working in a united way. And this event is a sign of the effect and the service of all kinds of wonderful devotees. The Naidus, we really appreciate the Naidus. They took us into their home. They gave us their bedroom. I don't know where they're sleeping, and I am very guilty over it. I say, please, let us sleep where you're sleeping. But they gave us their bedroom. Can you believe that? And we have felt so protected and so loved by this group. How much work it takes to find just a school. I know, because we've had a center in our home for 22 years, and when we try to get together for an event, it's an event. It takes time and energy. You have to look for the school, you have to arrange, you have to talk to people, you have to arrange the situation, you have to come and prepare, you have to sweep, you have to clean, you have to get the food, you have to get the instruments, the people to sing, the children, and on to make an event. Let alone look at this wonderful stage and this wonderful puja, and this great feeling of devotion towards Swami, and Swami's forms presented so beautifully. I know how many hours. This didn't happen overnight. It's the expression of love, of love, of love. We see it like this, but we know that this love permeates the atmosphere and is a source of power and of our own growth. When people put out service like this, it helps all of us. When I walk around and people come up to me and say hello to me, Sai Ram, I've read, when I read your book and it had some meaning, you can't imagine what that means to me. Not in terms of ego, but when people look at me with this sweetness, and you really must write a book on Swami, and people should like you because of it. It's his grace, you know. Because they come up to you and there is some kind of love. This is really the teaching that if you see Swami in somebody else, you're giving them extraordinary grace. You're giving them something you can't imagine. That sweetness, when people come up to me, they just associate me with Swami because they've read the book. They don't know who I am or anything, because really I'm a human being like everybody, but they don't treat me like a human being. Like you see, you have some connection with Swami and you have devotion to Swami, then you treat this other person with this kind of sweetness. If we could do that with everybody and see this Swami in everybody, it's amazing, because I'm standing there saying, oh my goodness, how wonderful it is to receive that. It's so much energy for a person, it's so much protection, it's so much comfort. If we could do that to everybody, as if they wrote a book about Swami, but better, as if they're Swami, not as if, because they are Swami. This is so difficult for us to really understand, us poor humans that believe this external world, you know. But I can tell you that when people do relate to you like this, it's a world apart from usual relationships. It's a world apart. If we see Swami in another person, really see him, and we become so, I can't describe, there's a purity and an innocence and a sweetness in the smile. Beautiful. Let's do it to each other. It's wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for this event. You know, being a Sai devotee is a very, very, very special. We take it for granted because Swami has given us the grace to see him and to appreciate him. You know, almost anything we say about Swami we would know reflects divinity. His smile, the way he moves his hand. But if somebody listens to us when we talk like that, they think we're just crazy. What, you think that he's God because he moved his hand 3 inches? Or because he smiled? Or because you saw something in his eyes? They think you're crazy. So I try to say, well, he materializes all kinds of objects, he is in 2 or more places. And I try to say, when I talk to people, you know, all these phenomena, they still don't think it means anything. There's no way of convincing anybody or telling anybody. It's absolutely, we just have to get used to that. People don't understand because Swami hasn't given them the grace. I believe that. For us, it's so obvious. You know, there's a little story about this that was told to me by a devotee on the East Coast in the U.S. He said he was on the grounds during one of the summer school, during the birthday, and just at the end, a couple came to the grounds, and this person had a number of books under his arm, excuse me, and was getting interested in Swami. The wife was interested in Swami. They said, "Who is Swami?" And so Jack said to them, "Well, just sit on the grounds and watch. He'll come out and you read your books." And so after a week or so, this family was getting ready to go. And so Jack met with the man again and says, "Well, what do you think? What happened to you?" He said, "Well, I sat at Darshan, and Sai Baba came out and he walked, and I said to myself inside, well, Sai Baba, if you are what people are saying you are, you look at me." Challenging Swami, you know. And Swami gently turned around and looked at him. He says, "You looked at me." And Jack said, "Uh-huh." He said, "Then the next day I came out and Swami was giving darshan," called him Sai Baba. We call him Swami. You know, it's a special thing to call him Swami, isn't it? It sort of marks something about our relationship. He's so sweet and he's so personal, and we say, "Swami, Swami, we love you, Swami, we love you, Swami." But people that are just knowing about him, they call him Sai Baba. And so he said, he looked and he says, "If you really are who they say you are, you'll turn around, look at me, and you'll walk my way." And so Swami so sweetly looks at him and walks toward him. And so Jack says, "Uh-huh." And then what happened? He said, "Then the next day, there he was, and I said to Sai Baba, if you really are who they say you are," he keeps on, you know, "if you really are who you say you are, you'll come and you'll stand in front of me." So Swami sweetly comes and stands in front of him and talks here and here. And Jack says, "Uh-huh." And then what? And he says, "Well, there's Sai Baba." And I said, "If you really are who you say you are, you'll come and you'll make this ash for me." And Swami comes over and makes ash for him. Can you believe that? And then the next day he says, "If you really are who you are," you know how crazy it is. "If you really are who you say you are, you'll come and you'll invite me in for an interview." And so Swami came over and invited him for an interview, and they went in and had a wonderful interview. And so Jack says, "Well, so what do you think?" And he says, "He seems to be a nice man." Can you believe that? That is how it is. It's simply how it is. Swami gives a grace. How subtle Swami is, but sometimes not subtle. He's, you know, he just demonstrated everything to this man. And this man thinks, isn't he a nice man? So with that kind of, what can we do? If we want more people to come to centers or not, or we think we're influential with anybody, it has nothing to do whatsoever to us. We just stand up and do our duty and try to be detached from it. He gives us a role. He is the master of it. He has us all as puppets. We come in on a stage and we leave when he wants. As soon as we have a puffed up feeling that we know what we're doing, we're so good what we're doing, boom, we'll go down like this. My time already? Okay. Oh, the Swami. Sometimes I wonder, oh, what do I know about Swami to talk about Swami? But you know, he says, just have courage. I've seen him say this. Don't worry what to say about Swami. Stand up and do what you have to do, and I'll do it. But you have to have the courage, you know. Each one of us has some duty. Each one of us has some specific duty. And Swami, that's his grace, he gives it to us. But we have to look a little bit. It just doesn't come from the sky. It means we have a little bit of work to do. You know this story about Hanuman, where even Rama's family was jealous of Hanuman because Hanuman loves the Swami so much. I just call Rama Swami. And is always by Swami and always wants to serve Swami. And so even Rama's family said, no, well, let's get together and we'll tell Rama, you know, we want to do some things too. So Rama said, well, make a list. And they made a list of everything. Every second was taken by relatives and people around Swami. And so Hanuman comes to be around to serve, and Rama says, but Hanuman, look at the list here. You know, there's not a moment, not a moment. And Hanuman says, looks at the list, everything is taken, and he says, but Swami, there's one thing not taken, and that is when you yawn, you know, somebody must be around to click their fingers, you know, when you yawn. And so Hanuman, I said, well, who did that? Was it Hanuman? No, it was Swami, you know. He lets Hanuman be with him all the time. Is this the way Swami is? Do we get so close to Swami that he'll finally let us play with him in his house and be with him all the time and sing with him and just be a friend, just be a friend? He says, actually, you know, so many devotees stand in front of me and they shake and they quail, you know, and they're speechless. He's talking about me, really, because when I'm around them, I'm just like this. I can't say anything or do anything. Part of it is because he told me I had a monkey mind every time he saw me when I was very, you know, early in my relationship, until I stopped thinking and talking around him. And so I'm just like this, and I love it just like this. And he lets me, I just stare at him like this when I'm around him, just like that all the time. I love it. It is so wonderful. Everything else seems so transient and meaningless just to look at Swami and see the whole world passing has no meaning because all it's important is Swami. He lets me do that. It's so sweet to be with Swami like that. So will he let us get close? He says, so many people are just like you, Sandweiss. He didn't say it like that. They sit and they quake and they're speechless. But he says, come play with me and be a friend of mine. I want you to be a friend of mine. Maybe you should think, will Swami like me? Could he take me as a friend? Try it, he says. You'll succeed. You'll succeed and become a friend. It's a really rare event when an avatar comes and allows us to actually become a friend of his. Actually experience the interpersonal relationship and become a friend of his. And it's possible to everybody. I just heard of somebody that went to India. Joy Thomas, you know, and her husband Ray. And Ray is very quiet, and Joy is the one that speaks about Swami and speaks nicely about Swami, has written some books about Swami. And they were there at Kodaikanal when I was there this last trip. And Joy has trouble with her legs and must go in a wheelchair, and he's always attending. Ray is attending her and helping her, and she's the one that's talking. And you know, Swami, after they were there about 6 weeks, Swami had them in and said to Ray, this lifetime I give you liberation instantly. I'll give it to you instantly in this lifetime. Who can say such a thing to another person? And somebody that seems to be an attendant, and who are we? How are we reacting? Are we in the limelight? Are we not in the limelight? Do we get recognition from fellow devotees? It means nothing to Swami. He knows only what's in the heart. Who can see the purity of the impulse in the heart? Who can see that? Just the greatest of the great can understand what's in the depth of the heart. Try it with Swami. Can you be my friend? And he says, yes, you can. How beautiful that is, how beautiful. So anyways, it's a great blessing to be a Sai devotee. It is not anything that comes from something we're learning this lifetime. It must be millions and millions of lifetimes. Millions and millions of lifetimes. One time I had the fantasy, I was sitting in front of my house, and it was on a Thursday night, and devotees were coming from all over the city. They're coming to the house for bhajans. And I had this strange feeling, I was just fantasizing, it's pure imagination, but you know, I must have been one day a little, an Indian peasant man in a little dirt hut in the country with just one little picture of Krishna, and offering him a little piece of bread or a little grain of rice because I didn't have very much, and I was just sitting there loving Krishna, and in comes Krishna and says, one day I'll let you take care of a temple, and there'll be beams of light coming. And I was looking in my house and these big lights, you know, it's modern day, there's lights coming and they have electricity and the whole thing is that, and there'll be beams of light that will shine, and devotees, my devotees will come, and you can take care of the house, and you can make sure that everything is taken care of nicely, like this beautiful event, and you'll be thrilled by seeing my devotees coming, and you'll be thrilled by the love that they're bringing in the devotion. They'll sing to me and they'll pray to me, and I'm a little peasant man in the country looking, and I say, really, Krishna? Will that happen one lifetime? And I says, my God, this must be the lifetime, you know. Not to take it for granted, if you have anything to do with Swami, that he's given you some wonderful privilege of service that you've been trained for 1,000,000 lifetimes, 1,000,000 lifetimes. One day, Sharon was telling that we were there in January at the time of this sports day. The morning of the sports day, I'm walking down the road from the ashram to the hillside stadium. And it's before dawn. So it's a beautiful time, quiet and beautiful, and I'm walking with a friend, this producer of the film that I helped with consulting on. And he was saying to me, you know, Sam, I just heard from a friend, a psychiatrist, who has a collection of dreams from an AIDS patient for 7 years. And very interesting to see the progression in the dreams of this AIDS patient. And so I thought, you know, Philip, the interesting dream is the wake dream that we're in right now. Can you believe that all of this that's happening to us is just a dream? It's like the night dream, because when we're asleep and we're dreaming, we see all these events and we're talking to people and we're having conversations. Sometimes we're having conversations with people and they're telling us things we never even knew. Yet when we wake up, we know all of that was just a projection of our mind. All of that was just ourselves. And we become aware it was just inside our own mind. Can you believe that there's a time when we wake out of this dream and we recognize that all of these things, every person, every event, every structure is only ourselves that we've projected out? Can you believe that? We wake up and we see the totality is ourselves, just ourselves. Everything is us. We are divinity. We're beyond time and space. Can you believe this great teaching, this expansive teaching that Swami's giving us? And the way to move beyond the maya of it, the delusion of it, is by perfecting the impulse so it's not selfish, so that the giving is free of selfishness and is just an offering of love. This seems to be the way. This is the teaching. This teaching is so wise and so pure and so valuable and so precious. It is so extraordinary. It is like the greatest of jewels. It is like gold sparkling. It's like somebody giving you $1,000,000 trillion. It is so great, and yet most people let it just fall off the back as if it's nothing. Do you know that Swami's telling us everything that we think is different from ourselves is just ourselves? We're the totality. We're the sun and the moon and the sky and the stars, and we're divinity itself. Can you believe that? I got all worked up over it, you know, because I think it's such an extraordinary thing to understand about ourselves. I think it's crucial for Western science to know it, for psychiatry to know it, but every time I talk like that to psychiatrists, oh, they think I'm crazy. You know, I start with the bhajan, there is no you, there is no I. How does it go? There is no earth, there is no sky, there is no you and I. There's only such as I, beloved, such as I. They say, what? There is no you, there is no I. Wait, there is no earth, there is no sky. They say, you're crazy. But that's what we believe. And Swami corrects us sometimes. It's not belief. You're having experience. It's not belief. Hold the dream. Hold this great, extraordinary, expansive vision. It is not a dream. Understand it. You know, he says to hold it takes nerves of iron and muscles of steel. Nerves of iron and muscles of steel, to hold on to that and to live it. To grasp the greatness of it. That we are not this little body walking around. We are the earth and the sky and the moon and the sun. We are consciousness and love, and we are everlasting life. We're Swami himself. It's very difficult to grasp. What an expansive, great idea. What a heroic time to grasp such a thing, and for Swami to act it out over and over and over for us. And he has so much patience until we get it. He's such glorious. He's giving us such preciousness. Nobody can measure the preciousness of it. It's so great. So, just as I got done finishing talking to Philip about the difference between the dream of an AIDS patient for 7 years and this great dream that we must go beyond, we're walking to the stadium, and then somebody says, Sandweiss, you're invited up to sit near Swami. Oh, my goodness. So what? My heart goes patter, 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 and up to the top, you know, and sitting on the stage at the Hillside Stadium. What a glorious view that is. What a view that is. And what a view when Swami comes up and sits right near you. What a view that is. Precious beyond, precious beyond. This great expanse of a field, you know, maybe 5 or 6 football fields in dimension, and the wonderful hillside sitting, and all these great statues, and Hanuman rising 60 or 65 feet up, looking so wonderful. Hanuman is so great. Every cell in his body is humming Rama. Every cell. And so that's humming Ram, 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 because it's Hanuman, who is the great statue there. And Swami himself, the Lord himself, comes. And some VIPs are sitting there, and I couldn't take my eyes off of Swami. And we know that the day is just His grace to let us enjoy a day with Him in fun. But not to think that it's just an extra, just an ordinary day. For us to recognize we're with Him, and what is the day about? Are we just watching an event of people riding motorcycles, which is great also? We're with Swami. Why? And we have to ask that we're here together as devotees now. Why? Why is He making us, allowing us? Why is He gracing us to be together right now? Why? And I say, I'm saying this, Swami's right here. Why are we with Swami? Just to watch a sport event? No. Then I say, well, what are the students doing? The students are preparing themselves. They're preparing themselves. They're going to be riding motorcycles and standing 7 in... why? What are they doing? Just for fun? No. Discipline, determination, detachment, devotion, and offering themselves to Swami. Everything to offer to Swami. Well, then the question, what is it? Are we learning from that? Why are we here? Why are all these people offering themselves? Is it just so we can sit and listen? In one ear and out the other. That's one devotee. In one ear and out the mouth, that's another devotee. But in one ear, listening and deep into the stomach and digesting. What is it then? Why are we here together? No, because, and why are these people doing this offering? Why? What is it dancing in front of our consciousness? It is this great image that we are the totality. And the way to do this is to discipline ourselves and to make our offering very sweet. We all have the power. There's so much power in us. You know, when I started in medical school, and I tried to go through English, I almost flunked my first year in English. And then I said, I can't take any more English until I get my grade point up, because I want to go to medical school. And I got A's in sciences, and then I says, I'll try another English course. The next English course, the English instructor took me into his room, and he said, you will never go to medical school. You cannot write one word that has any meaning to the next word. You are completely off. Complete failure. You know how I felt. And then Swami taking what we call a nincompoop, taking somebody that can't write and hardly can speak to do a book that people come up and smile the way you're smiling. You cannot imagine that. I can imagine that. It deepens my love for Swami so deep. He'll take any of us. But it doesn't come out of the thin air. It doesn't just fall from the air. It means each one of us has that in us. He's giving us so many chances. We have many, many, many chances. The trouble is He has so much patience. You should shudder about how much patience He has. He'll wait for you for 10 million lifetimes, 10 billion lifetimes, 10 trillion lifetimes. He'll wait and wait. He'll come and He'll dance in front, and He'll sing in front, and He'll be sweet. But what devotee goes in the ear, goes into the stomach, and digests, and does something? Does something. I was talking to Kamal Jha on the way here. Swami once said, we were talking about how Swami's discourses sometimes repeat, and I heard Swami, somebody tell me that Swami once said recently, you may wonder why the last 1,000 discourses have all been on the same subject. Rather, you should wonder, have you learned anything and are you practicing it? He'll probably go to the next discourse when we practice it as a group. And he gives this organization a chance. He gives us the practical organization in which we can work it out. Is there anything that we can do? Yes, like Hanuman, he'll give you something to do. It's his promise. It's his duty to give us something to do. Let's just open. It doesn't come out of thin air. Open, and then we have to have the discipline, like these students at this sports day. They are preparing themselves. Why? Because they want to give Swami an offering. They're not just doing it to thrill devotees, which they want to offer. They want to give their best to Swami, and that's what we want to do. Perfect ourselves, perfect ourselves, perfect ourselves. Discipline, discipline. Like Hanuman, chew on a pearl, and if it doesn't say Ram, spit it out, and focus on Swami and offer him. We have a short time. We're like a little block of ice in the sun. We're going very quickly. Very quickly. And so the focus on him must be razor sharp, and we must chant his name and prepare ourselves, and he gives us many chances, many chances. And then the devotion, he'll allow us to do it. He will allow us to do it. I can tell you, he'll allow us to do it. My experience in trying to speak about Swami, I have had such stage fright. You don't realize, because I can stand up here now and blah, 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 blah. But no, it was not easy. He takes us at our weakest point. Generally, that's what he'll do. You'll not want to do something, and that's what he'll want you to do. Generally, that's what happens. You think I'm so strong in one area, he'll slap you in that area. Boom, down you go. Because the mind has to become nothing. It has to sort of disintegrate like this. And we have to understand, how can I serve my Swami? Do I have to clean the bathroom for 10 years? It may be that. With nobody knowing anything. You know, I heard what just recently happened in Puttaparthi. Did you hear the story? I heard it in the last Cyber retreat that we were at. That there was a plugging up of the cesspool in Prashanti Nilayam. It's not a pretty picture. And some of the Seva workers were standing there looking and wondering what's going on with this, you know, and they figured they knew what was happening, but they kept on hemming and hawing and procrastinating. And then one Seva worker just jumped right in. What a story that is. He jumped in and unplugged things and cleaned things up. Can you believe that? Who can overcome whatever it is that is negative? But anything that seems negative is in this image of a plugged up cesspool in Prashanti Nilayam. And then the time went on, and the Swami came out in the darshan line and passed him and said 3 words. No more birth. No more birth. And went on. Oh my God. What does it mean when our Swami, what power are in 3 words from our Swami? No more birth. Oh my goodness gracious. I'm going to tell you one last story, and then I'll leave. And that's what happened at Kodaikanal. Swami lets us draw close. And he says, he tells us what the highest dharma is. I'm going to try to recite it, you know. He says, see him in every being. Be aware of him every moment of existence. Be immersed in the bliss of this awareness. Be merged in the relationship of profound love and devotion to him. He says this every moment of existence, every moment of existence. Everything, every act, big and small, everything from beginning to end devoted to him. Everything. With renunciation of all attachment to the self. Renunciation of all attachment. Having no concern with fruits and consequence. What kind of an internal refocusing and an internal growth is needed? What kind of a teaching is so heroic? All acts, every thought, with renunciation of all attachment to the self. What kind of heroic? And of course, Swami has to come in complete divinity to convince us to even take to this path. It seems so far-fetched for so many of us. For Indians, not so much. This is the heritage. It's the wealth. You hold the wealth of all creation in your system of belief. For Westerners, it's like the strangest idea. What? Renounce everything? For psychiatrists, they say, what are you talking about? Renouncing your body and your mind? What are you talking about? That's who you are. But this is it. And then he says, it's very difficult. It's not easy. But take to it even in the smallest degree. And you know what he says? I said this in the Gita Vahini. But try even the smallest amount and I'll be with you. The smallest amount will protect you from terrifying fear.
And that's also, you know, that's common. That comes with us when we believe the external world is real. The same thing that attaches us to the world causes terrifying fear. I'll protect you from terrifying fear. And they sweetly, he says, I will walk with you and teach you like a friend. I will lead you like a guide. I will guard you from evil and temptation. I will be your staff and your support. This is what he tells us he's going to do with us. We have to open ourselves and let him come in like this. He says, and then you do this, and you will draw near to me. You will approach me. You will understand my mystery. You will enter into me. You will acquire and achieve divine quality. You will establish yourself in me. You will unite in me. You will merge in me. You will melt in me. You will become me. Oh, Swami. Even to the smallest degree, he'll come and walk with us and help us like this. I, like so many devotees, went to Kodaikanal, and there Swami was up in a house, up on a hill. You know, we're about 7,000 feet up in Kodaikanal in the mountains. Beautiful lake, a nice roadway around the lake, and Swami's up in a house, and everybody wants to be in the house with Swami. And most of us are not. We're standing outside a gate where a watchman is, who's very tough and won't let you in unless you just are right. It's just the right time and everything. He'll be very snappy and he's very tough. And to my left, standing in bare feet after the rain in muddy water and getting splashed on a little bit and standing in the cold morning, the past president of Guatemala. President. Willing to sit on the stones, and all kinds of dignitaries and people. Why? And not only that, rascals and people who are difficult, you know. There was one person there who he loved, loved Swami so much, he was there from the first person there and the last person away, but he was really a rascal. He would just, he had a very quick tongue. Anything that came in his mouth, it came out. And he was always sort of making a sharp comment, you know, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that, oh, this is happening, that's happening. And he would stay there. His feet were just swollen from all the standing that he did, and there were open sores and the flies were there. And when I stood next to him, I had to move my foot away. I was scared of catching something. But the devotion was so intense. And I saw this man, he was sort of obnoxious at times, and it was difficult. But the devotees loved him because of his devotion, you know, so they put up and they tried to do the best they could. And General Chibber was there. General Chibber at one time was the head of the command of the Northern Indian Forces. And a lovely, lovely man. And I saw General Chibber once, sitting, he was on the front row, sitting for Swami coming out of the house, and this man was causing a ruckus. I should be there, get away, move over. You know, no sense of respect and of holding in. I should be in that place. And and he was causing a ruckus. So General Chibber, and without any ego, I mean, he just says, shh, shh, you can sit right here. Come on, be nice. And he got up and he let this, the things that you see, you know, just from your brothers and sisters. Such an honorable man and respectable man. He says, sure, come sit right here. And he let the man sit there, and the man then just fell into just a quiet, and he could recognize the love that was given, and Chibber sat in the back. It was sweet what Sai devotees do, sweet what they do. And so people wanted to be in the house with Swami. So I wanted to be there. And I had two chances. That is, Swami frequently, when I first see him, for the last few years, he'll say hello to me. That is, he'll recognize me. He gives me that much grace. He's so sweet. He doesn't have to recognize. He knows how to also ignore completely. You know how perfectly he can ignore. He can come and stand in front of you and yes to this and yes to that man and speak here and look at an ant, and you at no place, you feel you're not even exist. You have to look at your arm to think you exist. You know, one time I was with Swami in a car. And I was in the front seat and Swami was in the back, and I was embarrassed, but I turned right around and I went like this all the way. Wherever we were going, it was 45 minutes, and I couldn't stop looking at Swami. And Swami only once said, Sandweisses, what's your plan? And I said, can I go to Kodaikanal? He says, no. And I just like, I said, And, 45 minutes sitting that close to Swami, looking at those great, wonderful eyes, and you're never bored when you're with Swami. There's always this intensity and this immediacy and this aliveness. So it's just wonderful. And you're just drawn into Swami so that the whole world passes. It's not hard to see that the whole world just passes and all there is Swami. His image is so powerful. But when I was done with that ride, he had talked to Jagarao all the time, and I was like this all the time. I didn't even want to speak to Swami, but I thought he ignored me. Can you believe that? I can't, really, it's just amazing how we can believe that he ignores us. But at any rate, he comes down, and sometimes he says, "Hello, Sandweiss," and I have letters from the center, and sometimes he takes those. So I knew I had a chance. He came down, I got up, and I said, he said, "Oh, hi, hello, Swami," and I said, "Hello, Swami, hello." He said, "Hello, Sandweiss." "Hello, Swami, here's the letters, and can I go in the house?" Like that. Quickly, I wanted to get. And he thought for a second, he says, "Tonight." Oh, I felt so good. But tonight came, and I wasn't invited in. The next morning, Swami did invite me in, and I'll tell you just a little bit about that because it was so wonderful, and that'll be my last little story. It is so wonderful. He says sometimes the Lord lets you come in and treat you like a family member, and you can play in his house and be a family member in his house. Well, we went into the house, and it wasn't like an interview, it was like a family. He lives with the boys and a few other people, and they're just spending the day with him. Just like, he is so familiar and he is so intimate that immediately you fall into this, like you've been there all the time and you're with the mother and father, of great love. And all the worries leave, and tears start to come. "I'm with you again, Swami. Oh, how wonderful it is. Oh, it's so wonderful." So, there we were, just like that. And Swami was just chatting lightly. It must be a tremendous shock. You're sitting with Swami like this, and all of a sudden, "Excuse me," and he walks out to thousands and thousands of devotees, and you see your Swami, who seems so intimate with you. My God, he really is the avatar. And then he comes in, and he can put on the Maya so easily. So then he starts talking so gently and softly with us, and he asks a lady. There's a lady ladies are sitting in the back. There's a banister between the men and the ladies, and he has one of his devotees singing. She's a very accomplished professional singer, and she's singing with such delicacy and such sweetness and such focus and such fine focus. It's like watching a breeze just up and down and so gentle and soft. And Swami is in ecstasy, and he's going to the men. "See, look, see," something like that, But the way Swami does it, so sweet, see? And then he says for her to sing something else, and she just sings, "Sta." Oh, I couldn't, never do it. But it was the focus, the pointedness, and the precision, and the delicacy. Oh, the qualities which were in the voice. And it just started to fill us with devotion, Then Swami starts to talk about food. And for some reason we get on to the topic of food, and he's talking about at the moment of death how animals are in such fear. And then if people eat this meat, they also are taking on this fear and the karma of the animal, and it is not good. So he's talking about vegetarianism. And then he says, that sugar causes cancer. Sugar causes cancer. So I had heard that Swami had said this. I had heard that he had written about it. I'd even read about it, but I had chosen not to listen. But when Swami says it right there in front of you, sugar causes cancer, and then he tells how in the processing of sugar, it's the processing of it, the animal bones are broken. He says the animal legs are broken. He says the bones are broken. Even the face is broken, all up and crumbled up. And then in the processing, this sugar has to go through it for the whitening or whatever goes on. I says, sugar causes cancer. And then I had to believe it. And so not only do I look strange to most of my family, and our family looks strange to Western families because we always ask, do you have vegetarian food if we go out? Now we have to ask, is there sugar in the food? They know we have really flipped out, Then, now my brother is a medical doctor. He's a lung specialist. And Swami at this little talk said, some people think that smoking causes cancer. It doesn't. It causes tuberculosis. It's sugar that causes cancer. So he says, Donald, and Donald's been to India 6 times. He says he's not a devotee, But we never know who's a devotee. We never know what the mystery is. Last time I was with Donald in India, he fell to the ground on Swami's foot, or off his foot, thank goodness, and put his head on his foot and kissed his foot. And then he came back up. I said, "What was that, Donald? It surprised me." You know, he says, "When in Rome, do as the Romans." He doesn't know he's a devotee, you know. So, but I'm just watching him. Look like a devotee, Donald. Looked like it. So, but he's a lung doctor, and he still holds on to this information is what's real, because he has seen probably hundreds, if not thousands of people die the terrible death from lung cancer, struggling for air, in pain, and all of that, you know, what we have to go through. And he says, "What? Don't, if you tell people that, then they in any way start to smoke and they feel that they're free. Don't, because that's not true. Do you believe that, Sam?" And he puts it like that, you know. I say, "Yes, Donald, I do believe it." He said, "What?" And he went on and gave me a discourse and a haranguing too, you know. "You really believe?" Maybe you should say it to this for people. Say, the spiritual system is an odd system, an unusual system that has beliefs that do not coordinate with the regular reality. You should start like that with people. And in this system, which has no relationship to reality whatsoever, my guru said this. But Donald, I believe what Baba said is really true, and you shouldn't eat sugar. Don't eat sugar. He said, "What?" So at any rate, we had to make up, but it was really a hard struggle. My own brother, who's been to Swami, a struggle to say this, how much we hold on. But Baba did say it. So we have everything. If we go to buy yogurt or we go any place, does it have sugar? Can I read the carton, you know? What is it, sucrose, fructose? What do you have on here? And how was it processed? Oh, they want to say, "We don't want to serve you. Get out of here." So Swami did that, and he talked about sattvic food, and then he started talking about the relationship of Krishna and Arjuna. And the devotion started to mount. Because he said how intimate was the relationship, how sweet was the relationships. The communication between Krishna and Arjuna was so delicate and so sweet and so intimate. Krishna just had to wiggle an eye and Arjuna would know what he wanted. He said at the time when Draupadi was given in marriage, the Pandavas were in exile and they were wearing, you know, the robes of Brahmins, and Krishna had them come to this great ceremony and this great contest where the greatest bowmen in the country were coming for the hand of Draupadi, and they were supposed to take an arrow, look into a, into a pool of water and shoot this fish that's going around. And everybody failed. And Swami told us this story in detail. It was just like sweet singing, you know. And he says everybody failed. And then Krishna looked at Arjuna, and Arjuna never looked away from Krishna, always knew what Krishna was doing. And Krishna just wiggled his eyes like this, and Swami showed just the smallest wiggle. And Arjuna rose. He rose, he threw off the robe, and he took up the bow and won Draupadi. Like this. Time? Okay. It was wonderful speaking with you, wonderful spending the time with you. My love goes out to you. Thank you for all the love you give me, and Swami, thank you for bringing us together. Salam.